Well, today on Nation Window Cleaners Podcast, we're talking all about water fed. Really, the real truth. Go in depth. Let's talk about it. If you've done water fed, you've not done water fed, you just want to hang out. Stay tuned to WCR Nation. What's up, everybody? Jersey here from windowcleaner.com, and you are here. What is up? If it's your first time here, have a look around. We have tons and tons of content, literally going on 10 years of doing this every single week without missing a week. So you got lots of content to go back and watch and listen. Spotify is still my favorite place to listen. Hopefully you guys are out in the field. If you are, check in, say what's up. I'm out in the field. Tell me what you're doing today. But anyway, I thought it would be an interesting one to talk about water fed. Now, water fed in reality is probably in, I would say, much more than 50% of the window cleaning companies. As far as companies that have been started within the last, say, 10 years, it is in most of the window cleaning companies. Now, there's still obviously, now when I say most, that's 51% is technically most, right? So I'm not saying everyone is, and if you're not using water fed yet and you're still on the fence or you just don't get it or any of that stuff, I totally understand. It doesn't mean you have to do it. It's just an amazing tool, the best tool we've ever had in our industry for anything as far as making things go faster and easier and better results and all that stuff. We'll talk about it, I know. But here's an interesting thing, that you have such polarizing people out there. And this is the reason, if you have it in the budget, that's always the main thing. Obviously you do. Say you spend $3,000 on a water fed system, that's 30 hours of work. That's it. That's a week's work. You could buy a water fed. So yes, it's expensive, but most people could still afford it. But with that all being said, it's interesting to me that there are two extremely polarizing people out there on the internet, on the world and everything else. And I wanted to dive in and tell you what the real things are, because here's the truth. You can go on any group and talk and say anything about water fed, and you get people that go, oh my gosh, I've been a water fed for 20 years. This is amazing. I would never be able to go back and not use water fed. That's me. And then there's other people who, they're like, yeah, that's not real window cleaning. Water fed is garbage. You can't get good results. And then my favorite line, which means that they just don't understand, is they go, well, keep doing bad work with the water fed and I'll keep scooping up your customers. Yeah, if you do crappy work with anything, you're going to get the customers. I'm telling you. If you do not do water fed, I have a serious question for you. Have you ever taken a job because the last window cleaner didn't do a good job? I mean, 1,000% yes. Every one of you has. The interesting thing when it comes to water fed is you get these guys who have no idea what they're talking about, and then they say that line, and somehow that means water fed doesn't work, as opposed to the other window cleaner sucks. And let me give you this absolute example. If I handed somebody who's never cleaned a window, say you got somebody who's brand new, they've never cleaned for you, they've never cleaned for somebody else, you got them in, you give them a scrubber and squeegee and go clean that window. What happens? They do terrible work. They go, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I got to practice. This is bad. And you're like, yeah, well, that's okay. You hand somebody else a water fed and they do it and they go, this thing doesn't work. Wait, what? No, you don't understand the equipment. You got to practice. No, I've been a window cleaner for 10 years. You've water fed for 10? No, this is the first time I've ever water fed. You're going, okay, so this is the first time you've ever done that. And you're not perfect. And you're thinking it's the equipment and not you, right? Everything else in life, everything you do, you have to practice to get better at it. You have to understand, you have to do blah, 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 blah. But for some reason, people put window cleaning as a whole. And if I know window cleaning, I could water fed. You can't. I mean, a lot of people can, but you can't just jump into something and go, no. I know window cleaning. Well, yes, you know scrubber and squeegee. You don't know water fed. So there's this weird, interesting thing where, because people don't actually genuinely understand the science of how it works, they don't think it works. You give somebody a scrubber and squeegee, and go, well, a squeegee pulls the water off the glass. If it doesn't do good, it's me pulling, off the glass. So you get this really kind of polarizing thing. And the reality of it is a lot of the time, it's out of budget for some window cleaners, right? They haven't wrapped their brain around the amount that's needed, right? Sometimes people get the wrong stuff. They go out and get a DI only, and they're in a hard water area because some dumb influencer said it's totally cool to do that. And then you go back on the other side and they go, well, that didn't work. We bought the wrong equipment. No, it just doesn't work. I could be so much faster with the scrubber and squeegee. And the reality is you can't. It is not possible at all. If you have to pull a ladder up, so first floor windows, genuine truth, it's a little faster, but it's not going to blow you away, right? I still don't have the detail. I could do better results. It's easier, all that stuff. But once you pull a ladder out, I will be twice as fast as you with water fed every single time. Oh, yeah, that's because you don't do good results. No. I'm going to do better results because guess what? I also wash the frames on every window, which you don't. No, I wipe them down. I know you wipe them down, but you do not clean frames in every one. And if you do, now I'm like 10 times faster than you. Right? But the reality is if you have the wrong system, if you have the wrong pole, if you have the wrong brush, if your brush is completely worn out, you're not going to get good results. It's not the equipment that doesn't work. It's your crappy equipment that's not working. And I know. Before you say anything, he's a sales rep. I get it. But hear me out. It's fair to say that a squeegee rubber will wear out. You're like, well, yeah, I've seen it wear out. Rounds the corners, doesn't work, got to change it out. Right. The same is true with water-fed brushes, especially anything with boar's hair. Boar's hair ends up, I won't get into it, but there's a thick side and a thin side of the hair. The thin side breaks off, left with the thick side, doesn't scrub as well. And people go, I don't know, I've only had this brush for a year and it doesn't, my water-fed doesn't work. Well, if your pole is too flexible, you can't get a good scrub. If you're not compensating with a better brush, you have a weak brush and a flexible pole, and you're using the wrong system, it just doesn't work. Results on a good pole with a good brush are better than a scrubber and squeegee. Now, here's another argument. They go, well, what about, paint, silicone, and, okay. A water fed does what a scrubber and squeegee does, but it does it better and faster. That's absolute fact. You can't argue that. It's absolute fact. If I don't have to be on a ladder and I'm not using a scrubber and squeegee, I will be faster than you 1,000% of the time. Absolutely guaranteed. And I will have better results. But now when it comes into it is going, well, that guy left drips. Right, he sucks. Guys have done that in route forever. That's why people get route jobs all the time. But the results will be better when I do it right. Now, the same thing being said is if you go up with an Ettore Golden Glove and you scrub a window, you're like, man, stuff just isn't coming off. But now you go back over that one with, say, a Hedgehog or an Ettore better sleeve like the Hedgehog or a pad holder, right? Like a Techno pad on a walnut. Now all of a sudden everything comes off. Well, that doesn't mean that scrubbers don't work. It means for that job, you needed something a little bit more abrasive, right? Same thing comes into poles. The Pro Basic in the Zero line is a basic grade carbon fiber and works awesome on a lot of things, normal height. When you start to get really tall or you start to see, well, I need something that scrubs a little bit better, there are attachments that are walnut pad attachments. The same thing as if you would have switched to a Techno pad to get that heavy scrubbing. You have that. A slide brush is going to scrub so much better than a all nylon brush. It's fact, right? On the top of that is if I can run a destroyer pole versus a Pro Basic or a hybrid pole is even worse. Now I'm going to scrub so much better because it's stiffer. The pole is stiffer. More translation happens, right? You could change all that. So now, if we say, okay, we're going to be in this battle and you're going to do crappy work, and I go, okay, well, I get to pick my tools and you get to pick your tools, I will pick the best tools. You'll pick your best tools and I will win, right? So result-wise, absolutely. There is no streaks, smears. There is no detailing. There's none of that. It doesn't matter if the sun is at my back. It doesn't matter if it's dark, if it's misting out, if it's cloudy. I will always have better results with water-fed than I will traditional. If for some reason you see somebody say that they're not, or you have said no, I've done awesome. You did something incorrectly, which is fine, and instead of fixing that issue, you just defaulted back to scrubber and squeegee, which is fine. Absolutely. Remember, it's just a tool. I can't use a water fed in someone's living room. I have to know scrubber and squeegee. I have to be good at that, right? Route, I wouldn't pull water fed. We had water fed in every single one of our trucks, except the route, because that doesn't much make sense. We did have it that floated in the route trucks, but that was for some standalone places. The majority of things is not going to be water fed in route. It's just too fast, right? They're just too small. The speed is where everything comes into play with water fed. And because I'm not detailing, right? Detailing takes you as long as it does to scrub and squeegee the glass. Think about that. This is why a 4-foot pane versus a 5-foot pane is the same price. We're talking frames. 4 frames is the timing, right? I take that out. It's removed. I scrub the frame, rinse the frame. Scrub the glass, rinse the glass, on to the next one. You, if you're doing traditional or you're trying to understand why people will go back and forth, people go, man, I've been doing this 20 years, scrubber and squeegee, I'm fast. You absolutely are, and I bet you could smoke most people with a scrubber and squeegee, but it is not possible to go faster than a water fed. And then you get these weird things, which I haven't seen it in anything else, but you get these people who take the best case scenario in traditional and the worst case scenario in water fed and they go, see, way better. There's not, if you talk to a guy who's been doing water fed for years, 10 years doing water fed, and then you take a guy who's been doing scrubber and squeegee for 10 years, they're both really good at those things, but it is not possible. It's not possible for the water-fed guy to be slower than the regular one, right? So speed is always there. It's always in the side of the water-fed. If I'm doing ground level, same thing. I don't have to detail, right? When you're scrubbing, that's me scrubbing. When you go to squeegee, I'm rinsing. I move on to the next window. Now you're detailing the window. The speed there, it's not possible. Even though you're not way faster, it's just not possible. And then you get these guys who are like, well, I could smoke them. Well, you're comparing yourself to somebody who's not great at water fed. Yes. I absolutely believe that. Right? My company, we had an on-standing bet, which probably 2 or 3 times a year, somebody would call me out and try to do this bet. And I said I could squeegee faster than anybody. And I think the bet was $20 or $100 or whatever it was. And it was with mistakes and, and I would always win. I'm undefeated in my company with all my guys that we've ever had, right? That doesn't mean I'm the fastest one out there. It just means that I'm pretty efficient at what I'm doing. With that being said, any one of my guys that was good at waterfed would smoke me. These are all facts that somehow get clouded up when people, maybe they can't afford waterfed, so they go into this default and they think that that's the reason, right? Or they go, well, the customer says they don't want somebody with a broom with water because the last time they didn't. Then explain to the customer why that sucks. That's like a customer going, yeah, last time they used a scrubber and squeegee and did not do a good job. This time I want you to use Windex and paper towel. You'd be like, no, that's not what we do. Our results will be better. And then when it comes to waterfed, they're like, you're right. That doesn't work. It's just very odd to me. It's very odd in the truth on waterfed and where things kind of get muddied. And the problem ends up being is you get these guys who would really benefit of switching or getting just another tool. Again, you do not have to have every tool that's out there. You don't have to have a Ninja scrubber and an Ettore scrubber and a right? Fill in the blank. You don't have to try the accelerator, even though it's a newer tool. You don't have to have water fed. But to not have a tool or not even try it on a premise that's false that's the part that's rough. We've sold tens of thousands of systems. And I mean, it's proven. It's been around for so long. I've been in it forever. I've been in waterfed for 18 years. So it's very tricky. It's very hard when people say that, and then because we sell it, they go, well, yeah, that's what you're going to say. Nobody cares that I was in the industry. I've been in window cleaning for 20 years. Nobody cares. They're like, well, yeah, but you sell equipment, so you're trying to push equipment. Cool, don't buy the equipment. I'm just telling you the thoughts, right? Speaking of buying equipment, shameless plug, hold on. I put in orders for people. That's how I make my money. That's how I do content like this, how I put stuff out. By me placing your order, I make it quicker, faster, easier, make sure everything fits, your free gifts, your discounts, anything that's there, I do that. And it costs you nothing extra. It's the same price as if you went and did it yourself. But I make it faster, better, and I get some of the profits on the back end, which is how I exist. So I would love to do that for you. And if you haven't, or you haven't used me in a while, I see every order that comes in on every rep in the entire company. Actually, all 4 of the companies that we run, right? I see every order. That's my job, is I have to go through those orders all the time. I see the people who put in orders on their own, and it like saddens me that I don't put in orders for them. But, it's cyclical. But I want to put your order in for you. And if you haven't used me in a while and you maybe forgot about me and you only want me to put the big orders and not the little orders, I want all of them. Big orders, awesome. Little orders, awesome. My number is 862-312-2026. Let me put your orders in. Make my day. Usually I say, this is the part where I say, and then I can buy hair gel with my profits. But I ended up shaving my head shorter, and I don't need hair gel right now. I'm going to grow it back out. Don't like it. But anyway, there it is. Also, if you haven't yet gotten a subscription to the American Window Cleaner magazine, you are sleeping on this one. Real magazine, paper magazine, shows up to your door. Everything in here is about window cleaning companies, window cleaning history, window cleaning products and new things and tips and business tricks. And if you're not surrounding yourself in every possible way, then what the heck are you doing? Go out there, get the subscription. It's awcmag.com. Get a subscription. It's $69. It's like half an hour of work. Get the entire year. Plus you get the stickers, window cleaning stickers that you can put on your buckets and everything else. And then people, literally the stickers blow people away when they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, I'm a professional window cleaner. This is a whole industry. And they're like, I have no idea. Separates you. Anyway, also, my discount codes I always talk about. I got Jobber, the greatest CRM on the planet. That's down below. Don't even take my my word for it. Yeah. Do a demo. It's a free demo. 20% off with the code down below. Also in print, I got 15% off. You need both of those things. Absolutely. Amazing companies down below, so check that out. Plus, you can always text me if you can't find them or whatever. I can let you know. Anyway, shameless plug over, back to it. Now, we talked about the pull and brush a bit, but I want to tell you that just like a sleeve. Now, if you've been in window cleaning a while, you know that different sleeves have different scrubbing, right? They got Golden Glove or any real soft fiber. Doesn't scrub, but holds a lot of water. You end up getting more and more and more aggressive. And then all of a sudden, if you ever do use like a walnut pad, you're like, wow, this is crazy. And then there's some people that just use walnut pads on everything. Totally. You could use steel wool on every window. There's people that do that. It's the same thing with brushes. It does not mean that, so every pole that you buy in any composite, except Unger, I think, any other composite, any brand pole comes with a hybrid brush. That's kind of the middle of the line. That's synthetic, like nylon or on the outside, and then boar's hair in the inside. That scrubs better the harder you push, the more contact you make with the boar's hair, and then they work fine. But it's the middle of the road. It's like a microfiber sleeve, right? If you like the blue and white microfiber sleeve, but whatever brand, cool. Sometimes you gotta use more. Sometimes you want to use a more abrasive scrubber, or you want to use steel wool, you want to use something else. It's the same thing with water fed. These guys, I had a guy who had bought a pole in 2021 and had not bought a brush in that long. It was almost 5 years because he bought it in December, I think. So yeah, almost like 4.5 years with one brush. Brushes wear out. I don't know that I've ever gone longer than a year with a brush in a hybrid. But full boar's hair is like 6 months. And these guys are using them forever. And they're like, yeah, these things don't work. Yeah, you're scrubbing with nothing, right? You have to change that out. If you've ever tried to clean with a scrubber sleeve on a scrubber, after 6 months or a year, you're like, yeah, this thing's just garbage. Gotta throw this out. And with brushes, for some reason, people buy them longer. It's very weird. But anyway, brushes make a huge difference. Poles make a huge difference. If you get a hybrid pole, so say an M9. M9 is a 21-foot hybrid pole. It's the cheapest pole, but it's not carbon fiber. Thing is flexible. It's like a noodle. It's like if you've ever used pressure washing, you've used that big yellow thing or an extension pole and you scrub and the thing bends. And the translation happens like this, is when I am water feeding and I put 10 pounds of pressure on my hand to scrub the glass, right, pushing against the pole. If there's a huge flex in the pole, 8 pounds of that pressure is lost right there. So when it hits the glass, because now the pole's bent this way and the pressures can't push against the glass, it's very weak. I can't get a good scrub. Water fed doesn't work. No, your pole sucks. It's like, have you ever tried to scrub a window and your aluminum pole has been really extended, and as you do that, you can't really get it. It feels like you're just dainty. It's the same thing. Now, if I could have a pole made of diamond, I would need to put in a lot more sales to get that commission. But if that was the case, it would be absolutely amazing, because then all my translation would go, right? If I'm using a destroyer, which again, don't get me in for telling you to buy the most expensive pole, because the problem ends up being is the stiffest, best pole that we sell is the most expensive. That's just how it is. Thicker walls, longer overlaps, better carbon fiber. I get it. But the difference between the two is night and day. Because if I'm putting on a normal pole, and again, if I'm pushing 10 pounds of pressure and say 5 pounds is going through, that's still great. I can still clean the window. It's just going to take me a little longer. I got to do a little bit more scrubbing. Maybe I need a better, more aggressive brush to help me. If I can get into a destroyer and I put 10 pounds of pressure and 9 pounds gets to the glass, well, now I'm going to be scrubbing so much better. I don't have to push as hard, because that pushing, I can get the same amount if I push a little less, right? The pole isn't jumping all over the place, so I'm not using weird muscles, right? It's a pound heavier, but that's not the weight for the fatigue, it's the pole. And the weird thing about all of this stuff is that people go, well, I don't need that. Absolutely true, you don't. If for some reason you need more scrubbing or you need more whatever, then yes, that's the next tool to go with. Right? Poles have a lifetime warranty when you're talking Zero. Again, not a plug for Zero, but that means the tubes, the clamps, the levers, the hardware, lifetime. So when you buy a pole, even if you buy the most expensive pole, it's not something you're buying every year. It's not like a scrubber sleeve or a T-bar where you're like, oh, this one broke after 6 months. I got to buy a new one. Not happening. So anyway, when you go in, the pole and the brush have a huge difference. They're what make the difference in what you're actually cleaning. That's the difference between steel wool and everything else, right? The price between trad and water fed is the biggest hurdle, because water fed's more expensive. There's no sugarcoating that. It's absolutely true. You could buy a scrubber and squeegee for $50, maybe more if you're buying a decent one. A water fed you can't, right? You're talking thousands, right? But there's a difference between a DI and an RODI. And the biggest thing that frustrates me the most, because again, it comes back to, well, I'm not listening to you because you're a salesman, you're trying to sell the more expensive thing. DI is only for soft water areas. It would make absolutely 0 sense to buy a DI tank in Utah. You will use that resin up in 1 day. If you're in Lubbock, Texas, and you buy a DI, you probably aren't even getting the numbers down low enough to clean. And then you have these people who are like, well, just buy that one. It's a cheaper one. No, I'm just getting into it. I don't want to buy the more. That's absolutely not what this is. This is not a Honda Accord versus a Ferrari. These are two completely different things. This is like going, well, I want to race in NASCAR, but I only got enough money to buy this boat. You're like, what? That's not a car. It's different. That's what this is, right? So when you look at the system, that's the biggest thing and the misconception of people. Then they get into it and they're like, well, I bought this one because I wanted to get into it and it's costing me. Yeah, you're spending $140 a day on resin. Well, yeah, but I saw this YouTuber. Who cares what you saw on some YouTuber guy? Not everybody that says things knows what they're talking about, right? It's such a big problem for us that we have a special channel dedicated, and probably 10, 12 times a day, an alert pops up and goes, hey, this person's in a hard water area and they bought a DI. We need to call them. We'll call them and explain the whole situation. If you're still like, yeah, I know, but I want it. Cool, done. We'll send you anything you want. Be prepared. It's not going to be awesome. That's the biggest hurdle between why people hate water-fed, or they don't understand water-fed, or they want to get in. And I have told dozens and dozens of people when they're like, well, I'm here, my TDS is like 350. Should I do a DI, or what do you suggest? No. Well, I don't have the money for an RODI. Okay, wait. Well, no, but I want a system now. Cool, you can. Don't buy that. I would 1,000% rather you not spend any money with us, any money, than buy the wrong system. It makes zero sense. Then people go out there and they buy the cheapest pole. They buy the cheapest brush. They go and buy the cheapest system, and then they complain that things didn't work. It's like, yeah, you bought garbage. It's like going to, Temu and buying a squeegee and being like, this window cleaning thing doesn't work. But it's the crappy piece of equipment you bought, right? There's other systems out there too. Now, it's this new trend, which it's this copy trend where the design and shape of systems is the same. And there's like 3 manufacturers that do that. There's a new one that just popped up and everything. These systems are coming from Alibaba. We can see it in the packaging that it goes back to these Alibaba things. We know that they're not building the systems in-house, or that they actually know what they're doing. They're buying extremely cheap components. They're buying cheap housings. They're buying cheap membranes. They're buying garbage setups and selling them for cheaper, and then people go, well, this one's cheaper. It's the same thing. Look, it's 1,000% not the same thing. It's like saying a kit car is the same as the real thing. And you're like, well, no, it looks like it. Yeah. It's completely different, right? So the problem ends up being is that in a way that there is a free economy, people will always have a different option. And that's cool. You can go to Vevor and get a scuba tank style DI. That's still garbage. I don't care that it's cheaper, right? So there's a point. You don't have to buy the most expensive thing out there. You just have to buy something that makes sense. And there's a trade-off, right? I call it the Harbor Freight theory, and no shame to them because I buy a lot of stuff there. But there's certain things you buy from Harbor Freight. I could buy a rubber mallet from Harbor Freight. Be totally cool with that, right? A weighted mallet. I could buy whatever, right? But then you get into the tools that do matter, like wrenches. And they have more expensive wrenches that have a lifetime warranty. They're better forged. They're better steel, better components. But they still have the cheap ones. And there are still people who want to buy the cheap ones. But you can't complain that you bought a $1 wrench and it broke. Or it didn't work. Or wrenches don't work because you bought that one, right? Now, with that being said is, in every hobby, there is the most expensive thing. There's a premium tool. There's all that. And I'll tell you, in woodworking, we'll say, Festool is a brand. You can buy a... just moving my table. You could buy a reciprocating saw in Festool for like $500 to $700. When you could go to Lowe's and buy a Black & Decker for $29. They are very different. They are the same tool, very different. It doesn't mean you have to go and buy that to start off with, right? But what happens? You go and buy the Black & Decker, you use that, you find out you're using it more, you would like something a little nicer, you throw that one away and you get a new one, right? This is the idea when it comes to equipment. People think sometimes you can buy really the cheap pieces of equipment like a DI, and then when you're ready to upgrade, then you upgrade, but it's not. It's a different tool. And you got to use the right tools for the right job. It just makes sense. It's like going and doing route work, giant floor-to-ceiling panes with a 6-inch scrubber, and then being like, yeah, window cleaning takes too long, I can't make any money. You just have the wrong equipment. So, real talk in WaterFed, I will die on the hill that WaterFed is a better, faster, more efficient way to clean windows. It's safer. It's less fatigue. It's all of those things on the outside. But I am not saying that you don't need a scrubber and squeegee ever. That is ignorant if you say that, because how are you cleaning inside windows? Right? How am I doing route? I'm going to set up a whole water filter. That doesn't make sense. So believe the hype in it, but understand there's still a reality, right? You don't need to buy a Ferrari to go to the grocery store. You buy that for the drive, to experience, to love it. And if you got the money for the Ferrari, buy the Ferrari, but it doesn't mean you need that to go pick up groceries, right? Same thing in WaterFed. And I want to tell you this realistically. If you've ever dealt with me before, I do not sugarcoat things. I'm not going to tell you everything is great when it's not. I will tell you my thoughts. And if you think they're different or you disagree or whatever, awesome, but I'm going to tell you my thoughts on everything, every product, every time, and what you need. I talk people out of overbuying all the time. If you have questions on WaterFed, even if you have WaterFed and you're looking at maybe doing something better, or there's something you don't like about what you have, call me, text me, 862-312-2026. That's my cell. Direct to me. Shoot me a message. Be like, yo, hey man, I got this issue going on with my WaterFed. What do you think's better? I'll tell you. I'm not going to oversell you. That's not the point of what we do. That's not the point of help. Just to put the most expensive thing in your hand. It's to get something better. And if that happens to be something that's a little bit more expensive, I'll explain why. But that's what we do. If you got questions, please ask away. I just want to put this out there because there's a lot of misnomers, and a lot of people don't buy WaterFed because they read from some stranger online that they didn't like WaterFed, and in reality, that guy never even used WaterFed. So, anyway, believe it, don't believe it, know it's myth, all that stuff. Plus, get a subscription to the American Window Cleaner magazine. It's not all about WaterFed, but there's a lot of stuff in there that is WaterFed. And then you can see things like this. Like these kind of companies, this guy's got WaterFed, but he also has traditional. See the equipment others are using. American Window Cleaner magazine, awcmag.com. Please go get a subscription. It's super cheap for the entire year. Just do it. Also, you guys know the codes are down below. Get a discount on stuff you're going to buy anyway. Go do that. Huge convention's coming up. If you guys are going to the huge convention, that's what I want to say now. Every week we say, I want to see who listens this far. The word is either yes or no if you're going to the huge convention. I want to know yes or no if you're going to be there. Because I'm going to be there and I want to say hi if you are. Either way, hopefully that helps answer some questions on WaterFed. Hopefully it kind of sets the record straight. Otherwise, just take it with a grain of salt. Either way, before next week, go out there, understand what you're doing and using, but more importantly, go out there and be epic.